Okay, so in this video, we're going to really get into the discussion revolving around set stamps, which is basically the gear of this game. And I'm going to very lightly talk about bonds. Also, we're not really going to get into core stamps. That's its own video, really. And I've kind of talked about it for a lot of the units in different videos. But I really want to focus and give set stamps their own video today. So first, we're going to talk about essentially the main stats and the substats you could get for each piece. And then we're going to talk a bit about the sets you should be farming. We're going to tie that a bit into crafting because crafting is also something quite important in this game. And then we'll finish off with bonds for the most part after kind of going over all of this. So set stamps, like I said, are essentially your gear of the game. Now, this is something I want you guys to view as being a long-term thing. In Realm of Mutation, you get 2 runs a day. So unless you're like someone who's doing a lot of refreshes per day, right? Someone like me, then I would really say keep it at 2 like daily attempts. Maybe put like half your stamina into this, but for right now, focus on other resources, right? Since you're getting 2 every day, this is something that is more long-term and it's definitely how they want you to play. I mean, it's a gacha game, right? You don't need to go too crazy. Now, besides farming them here, you could also get it through crafting. So with crafting, you're going to get shards. Now, the first way to get shards early game is through Trial Tower. You're going to be getting a lot. So I think it's 150 per color. So you could get basically 60 total craftable ones, and essentially you would do the 50% off, and then every 5 you get a guaranteed pity. So for me, for example, right now, just to kind of show you guys, what do I need actually? I guess we'll do it for Sajin. So after 5, right, I'm basically guaranteed, we're already 3 out of 5, but I'm guaranteed 1 5-star at the bare minimum. Actually, that's not horrible. I might run that one. So that's basically how it works. And then later on, you're now right now I'm able to farm also the advanced fragments, and this is a guaranteed gold / 5-star. So that's the 2 main ways you're able to get set stamps. And I've already discussed this, but I definitely think that I definitely think that the first thing to really focus on is your DPS sets. So essentially that would be mainly Ichigos and then also Toshiros, right? Those are the first 2 that I think you're really going to want to farm. And it's basically after that, what are you trying to prioritize, right? So do you have Yoruichi? Do you have a strike DPS, right? Being Yoruichi, then farm the strike set. And then afterwards, if you have or are planning to farm for Gin, then farm the thrust gear set. We'll see if there's new gear sets, but I think this one is going to work just fine on Gin. So after that, once you have your DPSs built, that's when I really think you start going into your supports and your sub DPSs. So sub DPSs being tactic units. I think the most universal one is the Byakuya one, right? But also the Sajin one is very good for someone, and it is best in slot for someone like Kaname. And then of course you could just farm this a couple times. You really don't need the stats besides for Kisuke on his crit damage, of course. But besides that, you really don't need to go too crazy on farming this one. The only thing you need, like I said regarding Kisuke, is making sure he has the main stack crit damage. And after that, it's pure RNG. I farmed this gear dungeon. I think I put over 2,000 stamina in the Kisuke one. This is my only crit damage piece that I've gotten. It's just like, it's so sad. This is the only gold one I've gotten at over 2,000 stamina. So that is something to keep in mind. So now that we're talking about it, right, about the main stats, let's kind of get into this. So the first piece, this one right here, what you have to keep in mind in terms of the main stats. So the one on top is set in stone. So you could only get attack, you could only get defense, you could only get HP. So don't worry about that. That's just they decided to do that, right? Now for the second one, that one actually does change. So thank you to Envy for making this graphic. I'll leave their Twitter account down below. And essentially, for the second slot, it could be a mix of different things. You could get either HP, attack, defense, and then the 4 types of damage bonuses, right? So that's the first one. So if we go around, you could see thrust damage, you could see strike damage, right? You could see spirit damage. So that's basically the first set, right? The first part of the gear piece, it is either going to have, well, first of all, attack, and then the other main stat is going to be one of the main stats or the damage bonuses for one of the typings, right? So then we go to the second piece, and the first one, like we said, can only be defense. Now, slot 2 is either HP, attack, defense, right? So either flat or percentages, which I would say percentages are better, but if I'm going to be honest, I haven't really tested it because it's just, for me, it's a rule of thumb. But if anyone like shows me numbers where main stat, flat stats are better, then let me know. But I feel like it's just a rule of thumb where you always put percentages now. And of course, usually this piece is going to be either crit rate or crit damage. even for Kisuke, right, you want the crit damage, so his ult gives more crit damage to the team. This is a very nice amount, right? And then the third one, it's going to be HP for the like guaranteed fixed stat, and then the second slot could be either HP attack or defense, ailment damage bonus, and ult charge rate. So ailment damage bonus, just to make sure it's clear, is basically going to be a damage over time buff. So the only ones that could really use this right now are going to be like Ikaku and Kaname. So these are the only two people you could find some use out of for it. Pretty much no one else can. I've heard murmurs about it for Toshiro, but I just like, it doesn't even, it's not really too good even if it does, right? So it's like that's more like in the backlines, but you're not trying to get ailment damage bonus on anyone without a damage over time effect, right? And right now the main one / only one is bleed for Ikaku and Kaname. So stay away from that besides that, right? Don't really need too much ailment damage bonus. So that's the like main stats, right? That's our current main stats. But then we have the substats, or what they call in this game advanced stats. And essentially for this, well, you could get anything, right? All the pieces have the same. So it's either HP attack defense, ult charge rate, ailment damage bonus, crit rate, crit damage. That's the only things, well, pretty much everything you could get, right? You cannot get like type damage bonus, but you could get everything else. So usually like rule of thumb for DPS is attack, crit, are like the two best ones, and then afterwards it's like ult charge. Obviously for like Kaname, Ikaku, for them it would probably be better to have ailment instead of like maybe another attack, right? But besides that, like usually you are sticking more so to attack. Also because like for example, Kaname does giga damage here, right? With 2400% follow up, where that's not really affected by damage over time, by the bleed, by the wound, right? So you're going to try and stay away from that anyway. But for the most part, right, just that's the main thing for DPS. Then for support, like Kisuke is a bit of a unique case because he wants crit damage, but usually for supports, it's like support sub DPS, go for like attack, ult charge rate. You don't need to go too crazy for the stats right now, but long term, right, it's going to depend case by case. I think more so for sub DPS, tactic units, and supports rather than DPS. Because DPS, I feel like it's very set in stone what they're looking for. Sometimes you have to meet certain amounts. For example, Toshiro needs 60 crit rate. I don't know what's happening with the game. Anyway, you need to get 60% crit rate at max here. But I think it's 60. And like, you know, Ichigo basically you could overcap crit rate to get crit damage. So there's things like that that definitely make it that certain units have a bit more unique builds, which we could get more into. But in a general rule of thumb, definitely stick to attack and crit. That's the two main stats you're trying to go for in terms of the substats, right? Now, you are able to get certain ones leveled up past level 30, or 25, sorry. So we're going to talk about all of this, right? So the first one, you can get it max level 30, and every time you get every 5 levels, you're going to be able to increase one of the substats. Now, when you do get to 25, which I realize my Ichigo, we're going to go on Toshiro for this, essentially, you're able to get the 6-star, and then it's going to increase all the advanced stats. However, the problem is, you don't want to use this all willy-nilly. For example, I might have used it on this one, but the problem, I mean, I don't even need crit rate. It's the only piece I have right now, which is kind of sad to think about. But there's literally, I don't think a single better piece. I've put so much. Anyway, whatever. So because, for example, if you were looking for crit rate, you would wait until it went into crit rate. And then afterwards, right, you would probably put it a bit more, right? But because you don't want to like have this increase all your substats, because this is going to increase all the substats. And then it's like, oh, but I didn't really put too much into crit rate. Since the star is the stamp nexus is a finite resource, make sure the substats are good first, like have upgrades in the ones you want before actually using your stamp nexuses. Because me as a pay to win, I'm like only close to 30, but I can only imagine people who don't have as much not even being near that. Unless, to be fair, I wasted a lot of my challenge coins at the beginning on stupid shit when I should have put it into stamp, or I should have saved it for stamp nexus, but still. So yeah, that's the main thing regarding the star up, right? However, we also have some other things related to the reroll. So some of these are not going to be like too bad, honestly. I mean, you know, little type resistance isn't bad, but you definitely probably end up wanting more. So there's a lot of these. I don't mind going through them one by one. So we'll do that right now. So like basic attack damage, technique damage, ult damage are going to be really good. Obviously battle skill for like battlefield skill for like everyone, right? Even Kaname is going to be very nice. All damage, I'm not too fussy about. I'd rather more concentrated amounts. But this one is not too bad, right? It is level 1, so I guess it could go up to 7.2%, which is really strong. Same with this. Someone like on Sajin, this will be very nice. But overall, like you're really good. I feel like for DPS, the ones on top are going to be very good. And then, these could be very nice too. 27% with an extra 9% for all of these is going to be quite nice. Like that's a very nice amount for sure. But these support ones, like, and you don't need to go too crazy, like fine tuning the supports. But for the DPS, trying to get something that is going to be very, very good for you, right? So like, we had the technique damage here giving 30%. Then we got this one on the bottom. Where is it actually? I think I might have skipped it. Then we got the one on the bottom giving 40% if it's a full assault character, right? So then it goes up to 120. So it's like, these are definitely going to be very good. And it's going to depend on who you're going to put it on, right? So like for Toshiro, I'm definitely long-term going to try and reroll. Problem is, right, you're going to need some very high level ones to use for rerolling. So this is going to be long term, and I don't think you should stress about it too much right away. But the more we could get this, which is going to be very, very long term for sure, the better it is, right? For sure. It's going to definitely increase damage if you could get lucky. But I just don't think the RNG is going to be all that worth it, to be honest, in my opinion, right? So I think that right now, just like accept what you got. Actually, what did I get here? Kind of curious. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, there's not much I could do, right? Because how many of these level 30 could you have, right? Stat nexuses are very hard to come by and very finite. But definitely, right, try and focus on like certain units at a time. I really don't think supports need too much help. I really think Kisuke's crit damage is as far as it goes. Like after that, for someone like Momo, for example, like I have the resources, but if you don't, like also I probably should have just put HP, but it's whatever. Like literally just do whatever, right? Genuinely, it just doesn't matter at a certain point. Just accept what you got and move on, right? Level up the core stabs. They got good stats, but after that, it just doesn't matter. So that's my thoughts on that, right? Like a lot of these units just don't need it. It's like very much like the supports, Kisuke, Momo, Yachiru really don't need stats, but then it goes in like decreasing order. So first your DPS, so like Toshiro, Yoruichi, Ikkaku, Kaname take precedence. I feel like I forgot someone, but maybe not. Anyway, and then afterwards it would be Byakuya, Sajin, right, and Rukia, and that's your tactic units that they do good damage. It's just not as crazy. And then of course supports take final call. Now there's also bonds. I would definitely say for DPSs, this is pretty much just a universally really good one. If you have 60% crit rate, I think this one's going to be pretty much it's going to be better than this because this is only when you crit, right? So, in some cases, maybe for me, it's better because I have like guaranteed crit on some of these units. However, you have this even if you don't crit. So this, if you're at 60% crit rate, this is going to be a 20% damage increase permanently, right? Which is wild. It is really, really good. And you get this through the Toshiro event. So you just have to complete it. And I think just today I got it, right? So I forgot which one. I think the Aizen one was the last one. No, it was the Toshiro one, I think. But it's very simple, to be honest. So it's like, for DPS, that one's really good, or the crit damage. Of course, Kisuke is the only outlier where he will take the crit damage one because of his ridiculous support, right, on the ultimate. So because of that, I mean, I wonder how I must be giving. I should probably check how much crit damage I'm really giving the whole team. But yeah, he's the only outlier because the other ones, like for the most part, like on a lot of these units, you're just going to be running the all attack increase, right? Especially because it's like stackable. It's going to be pretty good, right? For sure, it's going to be quite nice. So yeah, no, definitely I would run this one for the most part. I'm excited to see what other SSR ones they bring. We should get one with Gin. I mean, it would be what, Gin, Gikku, Toshiro, Izuru. I don't know. We'll see who that third person is, but I'm going to guess he's going to have a pretty nice one, maybe revolving around attack so that Kaname could also make use of this. Because like the damage increase, right, you'd much rather just... Yeah, there's none right now, but for like, Kaname Ikkaku to make big use out of the dot damage, you would want an attack buff over anything for sure. So yeah, final thing just to finish off on general rule of thumb, have your DPS main set. Obviously, it's the first one on every single one. So we got the strike main set, slash main set, strike main set, thrust main set, and then the spirit main set. Then afterwards, have your tactic unit run either Sajin, or the Byakuya one. I would say for a lot of people, Byakuya's is going to be better because of this ult charge rate, but for Sajin and then also for Kaname, the Sajin one's better. And then finally have your last unit run the Kisuke one. Only one person could use this, so keep that in mind. Don't run this on the tactic unit, only run this on the support. And that's basically going to be it. I think the Renji one's a bit too RNG. It could be nice if you get the crit rate or the all damage, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's not bad. It's just, I'd say maybe stick to the first one for the DPS, and then afterwards you got your 2 battlefield skill ones, and then the Kisuke one for the support. So that's gonna be it. Hope this was helpful. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to cover. I'm slowly getting through all the videos. There's still a lot. I mean, we're like 3 weeks in almost. We're like very, very close to being 3 weeks in. Damn, already in 2 days. So yeah, it's kind of wild. And definitely still pretty exciting how there's a lot of stuff to cover. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching this video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.